How to create an animation using PowerPoint. First step in completing this project is to choose a narrator. You're going to go to Google Images, search phrases that will give you animated objects that would be fun to use. For example, cartoon science, animated science, cartoon flask, or cartoon beaker. You want to choose a picture. Choose wisely. Watch out for copyright marks. Use the Paint program to make your image your own, and then we're going to discuss why Paint in a moment. So if we go to Google, and you want to go to Google Images, you want to choose something that's fun. Think about when we watch a Brain Pop, Tim and Moby narrate that. Or if you've seen the movie Jurassic Park, they do a animation in there where a DNA molecule narrates the movie. So you want to choose something fun. I'm going to go with Cartoon Flask and see what comes up. Okay, so when I say watch out for watermarks, what I mean are all these little marks that tell you where the image belongs to. You want to choose something that doesn't have those, or that you can work around. Like this one I think is really cute. So I'm going to choose this one, but it has a watermark in the back, and this is why I bring up Paint. So I am going to right click and then copy my image, and then I'm going to go to Paint, and I'm going to paste my image in. Now it came up really large, so I'm going to click on Image, and I'm going to resize it, and I'm going to do about 50%, and I don't want the image to be stretched or anything like that, so I'm doing 50% in both vertical and horizontal. Okay, it shrinks it down to a more reasonable size. Now I'm going to take this little box here, and I can draw it around anything that I want to cut out or delete. So I want to delete that because I don't want that. I'm going to choose these three little test tubes because I think they're cute. Your narrator could be anything though. It doesn't even have to be science related. This animation, of course, is about chemical bonds, so choosing something that's chemistry related would probably be best. But if you want a certain character to narrate, maybe you have a favorite cartoon or something, you can most certainly use those as well. Okay, so I drew a box around the area that I wanted to copy, and I just hit right click and copy, and I'm going to paste it into my PowerPoint presentation on a blank slide. Alright, so now I have my narrator. So my narrator is going to be these three test tubes. I would suggest beginning your animation by introducing your narrator to the audience. So you want this to be fun. So I'm just going to scoot my narrator down there. And you're going to want to use word bubbles or thought bubbles. So if you go up here to Insert and you go to Shapes, some of the shapes you can choose under callouts are word bubbles. So I'm going to draw a word bubble. Alright, now it's blue, which I don't want, so I'm going to right click on it and go to Format Shape. I don't want to fill, or maybe you could do white, or if you wanted a color, you could certainly have a color. Then I'm going to line color. I want my line color to be black. Okay, now my word bubble looks more how I want it. But this is pointing to nothing, and I want my purple test tube to speak first. So I'm going to grab the point, so I just grab that little yellow box, and I can drag it and point it to the test tube speaking. Now I want to add text, so if I right click it, I can go to Edit Text. If you start to type and you don't see anything like that, you're going to want to click on Home, click on Text Colors, click Black, and make sure that's there. And then you should be able to start typing. Okay, so that's going to work. So I'm going to introduce my three test tubes. I've just given them names to make it fun. This is going to be Penny because, you know, she's purple. and Ruby, because Ruby's red, and we'll go with Greg for green. Alright, so that's done. Then I could add more text bubbles to introduce my other characters. You can do this a couple different ways. You could go and insert another shape and go down and choose the one that you want. But I have this one formatted the way that I want it, with the white background and the black line. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. So you can right click and go to copy, and then right click and paste, and I have the same exact bubble. Now of course I need to point it to Penny, because Penny's the one talking, or I'm sorry, Ruby's the one talking. So we'll give Ruby something to say here. Alright, and then we're going to finish up by giving Greg something to say. So I just copy and pasted that word bubble again. That one I copy and pasted a little differently. Instead of hitting right clicking and copy and right click and paste, I just did Control C for copy and Control V for paste. So that's a little shortcut if you're not familiar with it. Again, now Greg's talking, my green test tube, so I'm going to pull the pointer for the word bubble over to him so we know who's talking. Now this is essentially a cartoon, so you want to kind of make it cute and funny and add in your sense of humor. Now, when this screen pops up, I don't want the audience to be able to see all of these right away, all my word bubbles. I want them to have their own animations. So I'm going to click on the word bubble, then I'm going to come up here to animations. I'm going to click custom animation, and then this screen pops up over here. I'm going to add an effect. So I want it just to appear, but you could choose any effect that you want to. And you can go down to more effects and it gives you a whole bunch of different options. But appear works for me for this case. You're going to want to animate them in the order that you want them to pop up. And I'm just going to use appear again for all of these. Now, I am not, since this is an animation, I'm not going to be clicking through. I'm just going to hit one click in the beginning and then it just has to play. So if you go over here, and number 1 is this word bubble, and you'll see when I click on it over here, it changes this to orange, so I know which one I'm working with. I want it to start after previous. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go back in and hit timing. I would suggest you do a delay of anywhere between 2 and 5 seconds. And you're really going to have to play around with this and view your slideshow so you know that the audience has enough time to read the word bubbles. So I'm going to start with maybe 3 seconds here. Okay, then I'm going to click on this one. Again, I want it to start after the previous bubble. Timing wise, I want it to go probably 5 seconds. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my last one. Alright, now a skill that's going to come in handy when you're trying to make this animation is going to be to duplicate a slide. So if you right click on the slide, you can hit duplicate slide. And it just gives me an exact copy of what I just worked with. That's going to save you a lot of time when you're trying to get this done. So now I have two slides that look exactly the same. The second one I'm going to use to have my narrator introduce the material that we're going to be talking about. So I might have Penny say something like, we are going to talk to you about chemical bonds. And then I might have Ruby say, can we start with ionic bonds? I find them so attractive. And then sure, there are positive and negatives, but let's do it. So you want to have your narrators engaging your audience. Okay, now since I duplicated the slide, all of my animations stayed with the bubbles, so I don't have to go back and redo that. What I do need to do though is time my slides. So if you go up here and you go to slideshow, or rather, I'm sorry, the animation tab, way over here on advanced slide, it's saying on the mouse click. I don't want it to advance on the mouse click because you're just going to click once and it needs to play like a cartoon. So instead, you're going to go automatically after and unclick mouse click. And I would suggest doing anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds. In the beginning, you might be able to do 10 seconds, but you have to give your audience time to read your slide. So I'm going to go ahead and do 15. And I'm also going to change it on the next slide. Now, if we try out this animation, you'll see that I click to get to this slide, and then I click again. And then they just pop up. I don't have to click anymore. Now, my bubbles might be coming up too slow for my taste, so I could go back and adjust that. Or maybe they're coming up too fast and you don't have time to read what you wrote. You know that that's going to be a problem. So you're going to have to go back in and change your timing. So make sure you're checking your slideshow often so you know if the timing is working out for you. Alright, we're going to stop here with video 1, and you can pick up with video 2, where we're going to talk about how to make things move across your screen in your animation.